Hello guys, Reza here. Welcome to another Unreal Engine tutorial. In this quick one, we will guide you through the steps to seamlessly attach and animate props with your character using attach tracks and sockets. This step-by-step guide is perfect for game developers and animators looking to enhance their projects. So without any further ado, let's get started. Before we start with the case study and talk about attached tracks or sockets, let's talk about the scene. The character I'm using is the Bungee Man that is available on the marketplace. And also the prop used in this tutorial is from Infinity Blade Weapons. Again, it's a free asset pack available on marketplace. Now with these two out of the way, let's talk about attach tracks and how they can be useful when we want to parent a prop or any mesh for that matter to another mesh. So the whole idea is to bring a weapon and position it carefully to the character's right hand side. So when we move the character or move the character's arms, the prop also is going to follow. Right off the bat, I would like to be very clear that there are many ways to do that, and hopefully in multiple videos I'm going to explore and explain all of that. They're all going to be step by step. So to parent, we need a parent and we need a child. The parent is going to be our character. The child is a sort of a weapon. As I said, I have a few weapons in the Infinity Blade Weapons bundle. So let's go in here, and there is one that is very, very intimidating. It's a skeletal mesh, and as you can see, it's a lollipop. So let's bring it up. Looks very intimidating. I believe it's a bit too big. I'm going to shrink it ever so slightly. Move it to position. And let's say that is going to serve as a child. Now, the first method of attaching a prop into a character is through attach tracks. Let's talk about it. Attach tracks in Unreal Engine is a very useful feature for attaching actors or components to one another. But it happens in a timeline-driven manner. What do I mean by that? It means that you need to have a timeline present. And to do that, you need to go into this menu right here and add a level sequence. We have multiple videos on level sequence, how to bring assets into level sequence, how to reveal components for an asset in level sequence. So I'm not going to talk about level sequence. I assume that you already watched some of my videos or other artist videos and kind of know the role of this level sequence tool. But I already have one created, new level sequence. Let's talk about the benefits of using an attach track. The first one is for cinematic sequences. Obviously, you need to have a level sequence in your scene to do cinematics, and attaching a camera to a moving vehicle would be a really good example on how to use parenting in that system using an attach track for dynamic shots. Gameplay events is another example, temporarily attaching, let's say, weapon or tools to characters during specific action, something that we would like to simulate in this one, or even complex animations like creating animations where objects interact dynamically, like characters picking up a mug, use the mug, and then puts the mug on the table. So these are the case scenarios where you can comfortably use attach tracks in order to connect your prop to your skeletal mesh. To do that, obviously, we need to put both actors into our sequencer. The order is not important. I'm going to select the blade sucker. What a name. Move that into my sequencer. I'm going to select the bungee man, drag and drop, moving that to my sequencer. As soon as I bring the bungee man, you may have noticed the user interface changed ever so slightly, and all of a sudden I'm in the animation mode. And that takes me to the second point, that every time you deal with any type of constraints, well, in that case, parenting is going to simulate a constraint, you need to be in the animation mode. Now that we have added our assets in the outliner, the blade and the bungee man into our sequencer, we need to choose the parent actor. By the way, if you have difficulty dragging and dropping, you can always go add actor to sequencer, and if you have something selected, it will bring it up here, or you can alternatively search for it here, or Control A will bring this selection into your sequencer. Again, we did talk about all of this in our previous videos. Let's choose the parent. Okay, the bungee man is going to be the parent, and the blade is going to be the child. Very similar to other DCCs, we always selected the child first, and then we apply the attach track. I'm selecting the child, which is the blade. I'm going to go into the Add Track button, click on it, and if I go right underneath animation, we have Attach. And it says what exactly you would like to attach. And we would like to attach bungee man. Now, keep an eye on the candy as soon as I select the bungee man. Well, something comes up. Let's select the hand and click. Because of the original transformation is going to offset and snaps in the original position. So I am going to undo, and let's try again. Attach, but this time before I select the parent, let's have a look at attach options section, where it says, you don't need to maintain the offset, which more often than not, it's going to snap the child to another location, or we can say preserve current. And what preserve current does, it's maintaining the relative transformation. So you can specify whether it should maintain its world transformation or inherit the parent's transform. And this affects how the attached actor moves in relation to the parent. Most of the time, you actually want to position your character first and then go into attach, switch from none to preserve current, only then go back and select the bungee man. And now it asks what bone you would like to select as a parent. So in this case, it's going to be the hand, the right hand side. You may have noticed that now I have a brand new attach track. And if I move forward just ever so slightly and start moving the arm around, you can see the asset is now following the wrist bone. Again, this is not an animation class. I could have posed this beautifully and put together animation, but this is really something that differs from one scene to another. The workflow is the focus, and you may have noticed that now I have the attachment ready to go with no issues. Now let's talk about the benefits of the attach track. There are three main benefits and one drawback, which I will talk about at the end of this video. The obvious benefit is ease of use and setup. So you literally click on Add Track, go to Attach, you make a decision whether you would like to use Maintain Offset or not. You select your asset, select your bone, and you're all set up, good to go. The second benefit is while you have this relationship, child and parent relationship, you can also animate your child actor on top of this relationship. Let's say you would like to get a little bit of follow through when the character walks. You still can do that with no issue. The third benefit is you can have multiple attached tracks active and make them the child of your nominated actor. Although I don't recommend it, it is still possible. Now, to close this chapter, let's talk about how we can detach the child from the parent. That is actually fairly straightforward. Select the shoulder control. Let's go to the Bungee Man and just apply keyframe. Let's go all the way to here and move this up and create a keyframe. By the way, this is not the right way to create a keyframe. I need to actually search for that particular control and add a keyframe to its rotation only. I'm applying keyframe to everything. I'm hoping that you kind of know what's going on. And I'm going to go all the way back. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to basically select this guy, kind of zeroing it out, and I'm going to assign another keyframe. So what I have is something like this. Now, when I reach here, I want to let go of the lollipop. Totally possible, something that we would like to do. All you need to do is go to your attach track, select it, and right click on it while you're on that frame that you want to detach the prop. Right click, and you have two options: trim, right, and preserve. So anything that is going to be on the right hand side of this timeline indicator will be cancelled, and you preserve the left hand side. Or you can trim left and preserve. So you can do the inverse, where the left hand side is removed and you have the right hand side. I guess in that case, because I want to let go of the prop right after this timeline indicator, I'm going to pick trim right and preserve. And you can see this attach track was shortened, and now I have a keyframe here. Now, this is still not going to work. Look, I'm going to go up and the character shoots off to its original position. It happens because of this last keyframe that this tool leaves behind. No need to freak out. All you need to do is to select the last keyframe and just simply press delete on it. Now everything should work. Moves up, let go. Again, moves up, let go. And if you have a character that's holding a mug, the character sits on a table, puts the mug on the ground and let go of the mug, that's how you do it. Beautiful. Now we know how to use attach track. Let's have a look at the second method of attaching a prop into a character, which is going to be as useful and has got slightly different use cases, but very effective. And just like attach tracks, it's incredibly easy to set up. The sockets. Let's go to the next chapter. Now let's talk about sockets. In Unreal Engine, sockets are used as attachment points on skeletal mesh. So in order to reveal sockets, create sockets, identify and locate sockets, you need to be in the skeletal mesh. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move back into my assets, go into Bungee Man, go into mesh, and there I have my skeletal mesh. And if I double click on it, that's where I set up my socket. So that's the first thing that you need to know about. The second thing you need to know is what exactly you would like to attach to this Bungee Man. Now, I've put together a really simple crown that I would like to put on the character's head. So let's go to the crown. Let's bring that in. Oh, it's Ginormous. So let's bring this size down. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. I'm going to select it, move it up to the position. Just wanted to sanity check whether if it even fits. So something like that. Let's say that's around the location that I want to put the crown on the character. And you may have noticed that small props like this need a little bit of sort of intricate approach. You have to be a little bit delicate. So you can replicate attach tracks, and sure enough, it's going to work. But for this particular example, I would like to use sockets. So, steps. Select the bone that you want to attach the prop to. In my case, it's going to be the head. You can see in the skeleton tree, the head end is identified. The mesh that you are selecting, just like this prop right here, can be a static mesh and can be another skeletal mesh or any type of actor. And with this particular method, I always suggest you to test the object first, rescale it first, and then open the skeletal mesh editor. All right, we have the bone right here. Let's right click on it and add socket. It's going to copy the name of the bone followed by the name socket. I highly encourage you to leave that name socket in there at the end because you need to search for it. It makes it a lot easier to find this. This is the one that you attach the prop to. In other DCCs, we call this a locator. In Unreal, it's called socket. You may say, Reza, can we just see it? Because with locator is more like a cross in other DCCs, but I'm zooming in and I cannot see anything. Well, by default, the visibility for locators are off. So what you need to do is to go to character, bone, and enable sockets. And there I have it. Now from this point, I can move it up and down. I can bring it here, and that is going to be the amount of offset, or I can just lower it. And the cool thing about that is if I right click on the socket node, I have add preview asset. So you can actually bring your own preview. It's not going to show it with the correct or modified size. It is actually going to use the original size, which in my case, that crown was ginormous. But the benefit of that is you get to fix the orientation. So you can see, although the size I can fix, the orientation is not that great. So I'm going to select that socket right here. I'm going to select the rotation, snap it to 90 degrees, and I'm going to at least fix the orientation. The size of the crown I can deal with later. Not too bad actually. So I'm going to turn that off. Knowing that the orientation is correct, I'm going to save, and let's go into my main level. Now, how should we find this? Where should we start? Well, now I know how attach tracks work. It should be a breeze. All I need to do is to bring this guy into my sequencer. And now all I need to do is to go into track, attach, and I don't even need to preserve, and I will tell you why. So I'm going to set that one to none. Just to explain, although you can use preserve, I can totally ignore it. I can go into attach, and this time I'm going to go into Bungee Man, and instead of searching for a bone, I'm going to search for a socket. And you may have noticed it says choose socket or bone. So I'm going to select the head and socket. And something really unexpected happens. And again, it does happen. Every time you bring an object and try to use sockets to create child-parent relationship, and it's due to its original location of the prop. So the orientation is correct, you may have noticed. The location is off, and all you need to do with the crown selected, you just go and reset its transform or location. If I click on this back arrow in here, you may have noticed that I have the crown ready to go. So any adjustments you would like to make, you can potentially make that adjustment on the head socket here. So I can go and tilt that ever so slightly in the x-axis. I can reposition the socket ever so slightly, and if I save and go back, you can see the adjustments are made successfully. And the rest is exactly the same because you are actually dealing with another attach track. If you want to start from frame 1, all you need to do is to extend your attach track to start from the exact same frame that you want. If you want to disconnect, again, you know what to do. Trim left or right, and you take it from there. The cool thing is with attaching a prop to a socket is you can do it this way. You can do it through blueprints with attached to component node. And if you are a programmer and use C++, you can use the attach to component method in your C++ code and take it from there. Another benefit of using socket is you can adjust the socket properties at runtime if needed. For example, you may want to change the position or rotation of your attached prop based on gameplay logic. You still can do that. So in general, sockets will bring consistency to making sure that props are always attached to the current location. They're very efficient, easy to manage and update attachment points without changing the prop or character models, and of course they are extremely flexible. You can move them, you can rotate them, you can scale them without altering the bone structure or animation. Now, one last question before we wrap up is, you may say, Reza, you did talk about a drawback. What is it? Because on the surface, attach tracks and sockets are doing everything that we want from constraints and parenting. So why on earth do we need to learn constraints? Wouldn't that be a perfect replacement for constraints? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the only drawback that attach tracks and sockets are going to create is within the hierarchy. Have a close look and see what happens if I scrub through my timeline. So I'm going to scrub back and forth and just pay very close attention to the hierarchy of my outliner. Did you see that? So what it does, it dynamically actually changes the hierarchy and the relationship between assets and actors in my hierarchy. That might not be a big deal for you, but that can also be the very reason that you don't want to use this method. So for simple animations where a clear, well-defined hierarchy is not an issue and you have no objections to that, you can totally get away with attached tracks and use it instead of constraints. But if the hierarchy is set up in a very specific way, you probably don't want to use attached tracks. You want to use constraints instead. And that is the topic of our next video: how to use constraints in Unreal Engine, the benefit of using constraints, where exactly they're going to deviate from one another. And once you understand both, that gives you enough ammunition to pick one over another based on your use case. That should do it. Here was all you needed to know about attach tracks and sockets. I hope you found this video useful. As usual, thank you for your support. You can follow me on X, Instagram, and Reddit to know more about upcoming projects. Have a great rest of your day. Until the next one, see you guys later.